Let's bring in a guest who knows as much about this as anybody. Stephen Camarata is the Director of Research for the Center for Immigration Studies, and we cited some of Steve's research. He joins us now from Washington. First of all, I went over a lot of stuff. Did I get anything wrong or anything that's not in the proper perspective?
One thing, I don't think you said it necessarily wrong, but just to clear one thing up, in terms of illegal immigration now coming into the United States, it does look like it's coming through Mexico, but the vast majority of people encountered at the border is the new word. The old word was apprehensions. But either way, people slipping in, people not slipping in, people being released in the United States, overwhelmingly not from Mexico now. If we had this conversation 10, 15 years ago, overwhelmingly Mexico. Not anymore. They're coming from everywhere.
Everywhere in a country. Right. And they make their deals with the cartels. Some of them are private deals, some of them are public, some of them are extortion, some of them are shaking down. There's poor people, and there's affluent people, too, trying to get in, as you point out. But it all comes through Mexico. And Trump pretty much stopped it, did he not?
Yes. Trump faced his own border crisis, and they weren't sure what to do, but they implemented some big things that changed it. One thing they did, one of the things that happens at the border is if someone's not from Mexico, the ability of us to send them back immediately is limited. Mexico doesn't have to take them back, right? Even though they came through Mexico. Trump pressured Mexico, threatening the trade relationship. He got them, for example, to do a lot more to interdict people through their country. They don't have much incentive as long as they're heading to the United States, but he helped change that. The other big thing he implemented, there were some smaller things. One of the big things he helped implement was a policy called Remain in Mexico. That's the colloquial term, which said if you want to apply for asylum, you have to wait in Mexico at least for your initial hearing. What's happened since then, and that greatly curtailed people, because remember this, the vast majority of people who apply at the border, which is now in the hundreds of thousands every year, they don't qualify. They just do it because they know the system is overwhelmed, so they'll be released into the United States, whereas the Biden administration is doing, and then they've basically got in. The goal isn't to get asylum. The goal is just to be released into the United States.
Of course, to get here any way they can. They're prepped on what to say and what to do. Now, the why of it. Do you have a why? You must have thought about this, Steve. I mean, you got a guy coming in, Biden, the first day he knocks out the Remain in Mexico policy. The first day, Obrador pulls the army from both borders. I mean, I believe Obrador is corrupt, all right? And you're going to see that down the road. But Biden, does he want this chaos? You think the man wants this? Because it's reflecting badly on him.
Right. What's happened, I think, within the Democratic Party is, although there were people within the party and still are, obviously voters in the Democratic Party, but even members who are in Congress who want laws enforced, they don't necessarily favor what is effectively an open border. But the party itself is sort of captive to its own ideology here. So and they just haven't thought it out. It's always been the case that if you send out the word, the law is not going to be enforced, you get a lot more violation of the law. We saw that when President Clinton years ago said, okay, we're not going to send people back from Haiti. 100,000 people showed up on the beach in Haiti almost right away, building boats to try to float over to the United States. He hadn't thought it through, so then he had to make an announcement, hey, we're not going to have that policy. We are going to stop people at sea.
But surely
the
now,
same here.
Surely now with the Biden administration on the skids, and every poll says it, and immigration's right behind the economy as far as annoying the American people and more than that, surely now you might make a course correction, right?
Right. But the problem is, what would you have to do? Well, you'd have to implement something like Remain in Mexico. They don't want to do that. They think it's harsh. You'd have to hold more people at the border. Well, again, they don't want to do it. It seems harsh. You'd have to send people home immediately. They don't want to do that. They are not enforcing the laws within the United States. There's been a dramatic decline. We used to deport over 100,000 people a year in the United States. Now we're getting down to the teens in terms of thousands. They're not even deporting criminal aliens anymore because, again, they thought that was harsh. So the ideological sort of, let's just, for lack of a better term, open borders people in the Democratic Party are in the driver's seat, and Biden I don't know.
They're going to
that
go
this is
down
what
with
he
the
wants.
ship then.
Yeah,
They're all going to go
he's
down with
unwilling
it.
to stand up to him.
Right. They're not going to do anything. They're going to blow up in November. There'll probably be a Republican president in 24. Biden's not going to be able to run again. They're just not. They're going to continue the insanity and go down with the ship. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I just think they have no way of thinking it through. They can't say, well, look, we want to be fair and open, but we do have to enforce law, so we're going to adopt some of these policies. Obviously, we want to deport criminal aliens. We can't release. Remember, they've released, they didn't want to publicize this. They've released 250,000 individuals and those in family units at the border since he's taken over. And we know that because of a lawsuit Texas filed. They've also released 150,000 unaccompanied minors. So, you're getting close to 1 million people purposefully released. We're not talking about people slipping past the Border Patrol. These are people purposely released. And they would need to stop doing things like that because every migrant knows the chance, even if you get caught, of making it in the U.S. is very high. And so we're at a situation now where they've just done so much to encourage it. They'd have to reverse those policies.
And they're not going to do it.
They just don't want to.
And narcotics as well, because the narcotics flow is tenfold what it was under Trump because of the open borders and because all the Border Patrol are so overwhelmed by the numbers of people,
right.
They can't do the narcotics interdiction. They don't care about that either, I guess.
Right. So one reason why that happens is in the old days when it was people from Mexico, we could turn them around and Mexico would take them back immediately. When it's someone's not from Mexico, there's a whole elaborate process. A huge fraction of these people are applying for asylum. The unaccompanied children, we have to try to find a family member in the United States. All that information has to be collected. It takes somewhere around 3 to 5 times as long to process those people as it did in the old days when it was just someone from Mexico. And so many agents are off the line now. It's much easier for drug runners and, of course, drug dealers to come across, or anybody doing anything that they want illegally. And so it's all sort of building on itself.
All right, Steve, we really appreciate it. Keep us posted on the worsening situation, and it will get worse. Thanks again for helping us out tonight.